I'm laughing at myself,
Okay.
my thickness as much as anything else.
There we go. So, Dennis, it's our first episode recorded in the post-Biden landscape.
Oh yeah, so I heard.
So yeah, I took an hour off work and I watched the actual inauguration.
Yeah, I turned it to a sports channel and left it on all day long as a way to signal a protest through Nielsen ratings.
Yeah.
And which was easy for me because number one, I like listening to the sports channel.
Yeah.
And number two, I'm not watching the news. I haven't watched the news since Election Day. I sat there with my wife a second and said, I don't want to do this, and I got up and I left.
No, it was super, super, super sad.
Yeah, well, and that's I've said this already, I'm sure, is that I just really am going to try to figure out how to not affect my emotional state or my general state by continued immersion in the world of Trump, which now is bigger and badder and awfuler and worse than we could ever imagine. And we imagined really, really, really bad stuff, and we just can't imagine where he's heading. His obvious disregard for law and for the Constitution of the United States, through number one, his pardoning of every single person involved in January 6th,
Yep.
including people doing 20 years. One of them, who's yet to be released, responded through his Oath Keepers.
Yep.
I think he was with, that said in all caps, "We're going to get some motherfucking guns."
Yep.
You know, and exactly
What could go wrong?
Trump wants, and suggested that these men that he's releasing from prison may have a future in politics.
And it's like, what? If only he had ever, been concerned about releasing bad people from prison to then commit crimes. That's his jam. But yeah, whatever. Yeah, I'm not so. Yeah, there's just not. I don't really want to talk about any of that.
That's good.
So
that's good, because neither do I.
talk about other
We are in winter wonderland here. Let's change it to the safe topic of weather. We have had 6 inches, then 4 inches, then 6 inches of snow, and temperatures in the below 10 temperatures, 7 degrees, 9 degrees, wind chill,
nice.
minus 18 degrees.
Yeah, that's why they couldn't do it outside. I'm sorry.
That's in Washington, which is a southern city.
Yeah.
In snow in Louisiana, and all this made-up stuff about climate change. You know, I don't understand it, but it hasn't been this cold here since 2019, which should give you an idea that it does get that cold. Once or twice a decade here.
Yeah.
But the remarkable thing about it is how much snow there is, and the fact that I could actually sweep it.
Yeah.
That's annoying, isn't it?
Sure is. Wouldn't it be professional if one were to silence that? But cool.
God damn.
Who would want to be professional?
Well, that's why we got an editor. We don't pay him much.
Yeah. So it's freaking cold.
But so, just the amount of snow and the fact that it's so light that the first two snowfalls, I literally used a broom, a kitchen broom, to sweep the snow off the sidewalks in very, very quick, so light, and created this kind of concave walkway.
Yep.
Then at the top of it, it was 2.5 foot deep, and people walked in the. Some of the snow melted, and then it turned to ice, which I did not eradicate except in the walkway from the sidewalk to my front door, so that people don't fall down on my property, as opposed to the public sidewalk. I'm not salting that.
So
That would
if
cost
people
way too much money.
get hurt on the public walkway, you're fine with that. But if they fall on your area, then you're upset.
Well, if they fell sideways and hit their head on one of the rocks of my stone wall,
Yeah.
I might be liable. Who knows? I doubt it. I wasn't the cause. I was just part of it. And not to say, oh, let them fall on my sidewalk. Ha ha ha. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's just the amount of salt that I would have to use, and my reluctance to actually use salt, overuse salt, particularly when the water and the melt will take it down into the public sewer system.
So do you use that sidewalk?
Yeah.
You don't get into the car in the driveway
Yeah.
but you use the sidewalk to get to the car.
I use the sidewalk to get to my garage, my tent garage, where my
Okay.
wife's car is.
Okay.
The postman uses it, postperson
Postperson.
uses it, of course. And I got a little path for her across the yard,
Yeah.
because whether I do or don't, she walks there. If I put a fence up, she'd walk around it, trampling my yard, of course, in ways, but I love her. She's very good.
Yes.
Rain, sleet, snow, etc., etc.
Indeed, indeed.
So I had two whole day of battery problems with my buddy, who just called me, in fact,
Battery
who
problems?
said, I had a battery problem in
Was
Nikki's
someone
car.
hitting you, Dennis?
What's that?
Was someone hitting you? Because
no,
we've already
automobile
talked about
battery.
we've already talked about your assault problems with the
Yes, I did tell assault story.
yes.
I did tell assault story.
And so now you're onto your battery problems.
Yes, $250 to replace the battery, which in fact did test dying when I took it into the place that's aptly named Batteries Plus. And they replaced the battery in the back of their garage.
This
part
is a
of the
battery
deal,
for
no
what?
charge. The 4Runner. My wife's big vehicle, the 4Runner.
Uh-huh.
And not just several days later than the old 2011 CRV. Same problem. There's nothing, like I said to the guy at the desk, there's nothing like a 9-degree day to let you know when your battery's over 5 years old. And he said,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah, we're raking in the money today. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that was 205, but I got a 10% discount, so we knocked it down. I got a key made, and so here's the story. You'll love this.
Okay.
I say, what does it cost to get a new key? Because I see I got a coupon that is $10 off, but off what? He said, oh, well, the key is, if it's got 2 buttons, then it's $139 for the top of the key, and then $69 to program it. And I said, wow, that's a lot of money. And he said, yeah, okay. And then I thought to ask, well, what would happen if I didn't have a fob? Instead, I just had a key
Yeah.
without the click, because that's all it does is help you in. And he said, oh, well, that's only $69 plus $69 to code it. And I said, oh, well, that's still a lot of money. Then I said to Noah, I said, let me see your keys. And so he gave me the keys. And the clicker, all broken, with the stem, key stem real loose,
Yeah.
it still was connecting with the door. I said, well, can I just replace this? What would that cost? And he says, $39, no programming.
Uh-huh.
If I didn't think myself to add, I mean, it's not like some point he said, yes, that might be an expensive option. Here's a cheaper option.
Right. But that never
And
came
then,
up. Yeah, yeah.
and then that not working, me still saying it's too much, saying, well, let me see your key. Do you have the key? Is it broken or is it lost? It's broken. Oh, well, we could fix this. Oh, and I, unlike the other options, I can do this today. Bam. And I'll give you 10% off that. Bam.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fascinating.
those things happened. I have some stories to tell from my 2 weeks that we've been off.
2 weeks what?
We haven't seen each other in 2 weeks
Oh, 2 weeks. That's right.
because last week I was in London,
London.
and I have some stories about London. Today, we'll start off with you will not hear a cat in this recording because my cat is currently really fucking sick and at the vet. Like, he's got some, like, kidney / liver issues.
Oh,
And
genetic.
I mean, so 2 years ago or so, he had some bladder stones or whatever that, like, made it so that it hurt a lot to pee. And and the vet said, yeah, put him on this diet that, like, prevents bladder stones. And so we did for a little bit, but then we went back to the regular cat food diet. And apparently, and he has been fine, but then, like, 2 days ago, I came over to do, in the morning, I came over to the apartment where I work, where the cat lives, and his food bowl was full because we have an automatic feeder thing. And I was like, oh shit, the cat's hasn't eaten. And I looked all around and I called for him and I couldn't find him. Like, it was just like, where's the fucking cat? And, like, we have this history in my family of we had a hamster and a little baby chicken just disappear because
Both of them?
yes, I feel like the hamster got out of his cage and, like, maybe some sort of bird of prey got him.
But he escaped and went outside.
No, like the hamster was out on the balcony in a cage.
Oh.
And I feel like the cage might have, like, he might have gotten out of the cage, and then something might have happened to him.
Like a bird.
Yes, the little chick that we had, I feel like some sort of, like, roaming cat might have found him and taken him and eaten him.
On the balcony too?
No. That was in southern Spain where we're all on the ground floor and cats can jump around.
Yeah.
But so here, like, the cat just fucking vanished, and, like, I looked all around. I looked in all the. I looked behind all the sofas, and finally I found him hiding inside of a closet, like, on the, just in a really hard place to find, and I was like, like, it was clear to me that he was sick, So I waited until the vet opened, and then I made an appointment, and then I took him in, and yeah, they've done some blood tests on him, and it's like he's like his bladder, instead of being full of urine, was full of blood. And his kidney was not doing so well, and they did some tests, and they've got him on like nutrition IV stuff, and they tried to feed him some stuff today, but he was sort of nauseous and like puked it back up, and it's not looking good. But we will see. Like, they're gonna do their best, and I'm sure I'm gonna pay a fucking enormous amount for this cat. But I have to admit that today I did my whole work day without him here, and it was kind of lonely. Like, I don't like him. Like, he's kind of a jerk, but I miss him when he's gone. So let that be a metaphor for...
You miss the little pain in the ass.
Yeah. So that's for sure a common thing that people have in our relationships with people. Like, I don't like you, but I miss you when you're gone.
Sad to hear that. It's very difficult. I've had many pets.
Yes.
And I've outlived them all.
Well, good for you. Yeah.
Yeah. So far, anyway. Of course, we don't have any pets now, and that's why. Because I thought, better quit while the quitting's good.
Indeed.
Did you? What's your next story?
I mean,
it's a little bit more uplifting, perhaps. That was a little bit of a
so
the stomach, the bladder full of blood rather than urine was made me set my beer down. I have to admit,
a bladder full of blood.
Half our viewership. That's okay though. That's all right. You got to know what's going on in your life.
So I have stories from London, including, as I have hinted to you, that I...
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I'd forgotten that. You met someone...
Do you know who it is?
Who is a mutual acquaintance now.
Do you know who it is?
Alan Harlan.
No.
No.
Who the hell is Alan Harlan? No.
Russ Amerijan.
Oh, yeah, Russell Amerijan. Yeah. No. So, I had... my work had me go for Tuesday through Thursday, like at the office in London. And so I flew on Monday, and I checked into the hotel on Monday, and I got there in the early afternoon, such that my hotel was so close to the office that I checked in, and I decided, well, I'm gonna go and show up at the office just to say hi to people. So I did that, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday were like really intense cerebral planning meetings at the office, and so I guess it was Wednesday night. So I posted. This is entirely. I get all the credit for this. I posted on Instagram some photo of something, and I set the location to, I'm in London, England, and with Instagram, you can like share it from Instagram to Facebook, and so someone on Facebook saw this and told her son, "Hey, I think Erik is in London right now. You should reach out." And so I got a text from our mutual friend Jacob, who said, "Hey, I happen to be in London right now on business too. Are you in London?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, I am." And he was like, "Well, my thing finishes on Thursday." And I was like, "My thing finishes on Thursday. We should totally get together." And so we did. Like,
Oh, wow.
So-
Isn't that nuts?
so, like, this childhood friend that
Sure.
that like I often see once a year, but like there are years when I don't, where we don't. And so he was like, "Well, I'm here at this Hilton, London Bridge," and so I was like, "All right, I'll get there and find you." And I made it to his lobby of his hotel, and he came down and he was like, huh. He was there with like everyone else in the entire hotel lobby of like there were probably 300 people there from his company, and like that was amazing. And
So where'd you go?
and so he said, "By the way," this is so very, very, very Jacob. He said, "By the way, I'm meeting another friend who, because his company merged into what is now S&P over the course of the last like 4 years or whatever. Like he spent like 2 years in this like merger hell of
Oh, really?
big companies merging together." And he said, so when we were doing this merger, we had these advisors from Accenture that were like helping us do this. And one of the advisors that was on calls with me every single day was this person from London that it feels like literally every single day they were on these calls with these advisors, and so this woman that he knew from there, she has recently transitioned to work at BP, British Petroleum, and as such has had a reason to travel to Houston, where he lives, obviously, Petroleum, Houston, and so like she came a few months ago to like visit him and like met his family and whatever. And so when he was going to be in London, he was like, "Hey, we should meet up." And so she was like, "Yeah, we should totally do that." And so right after I met with him, like we went over to a neighborhood that she told us to go to, and so she showed up, and she was pretty just this amazing person. She's half Brazilian, half French, but she's lived in London for 10 years, and her English is like so fucking London, like
Yeah.
just like not a trace of Brazilian or French. And so she was super cool. And so the three of us went out to dinner at a place that she chose that was, I guess, sort of Middle Eastern, like, it was it felt very, it felt kind of Asian, but also, yeah, I don't know. It was amazing. There was some amazing hummus and some amazing kebab sort of stuff, and we had a lovely dinner that was like full of interesting conversation, and then she took us. She said, "Hey, if you guys are up for some cocktails, I have a place." And we were like,
hell yes.
fuck yeah. And so she took us to this. So we were in the neighborhood called Soho, which there is one in New York City as well.
Yeah,
but,
there is. I've been there.
but in London, there's also a neighborhood called Soho, which was, as we walked around, was full of like sex shops, and it was very pro-sexual liberation, LGBT, just lingerie shops all around.
Right.
And so so she took us to this door that was totally unmarked, except for the bouncers standing outside. And she said, "Okay, this is what we call a Soho House." And she took us in, and she scanned some like ID card that she has to get us in. And it's this like super private club, like exclusive thing. She took us to the original Soho House. Like this started 40 years ago, so it's not super old, but
40,
like in 1990, 1980.
Yeah. It seems like a long time.
Right, but it's this like exclusive club that you have to be a member of, and you need 2 other members to like vouch for you to become a member. Like there's a little bit of this exclusivity, but and it started with this one place at Soho, but then there are like 6 or 7 or 10 other places in London that are part of this club, but also there are now branches in like Barcelona or Chicago or New York City and so if you're a member of this, you can go to these other places, and there's often like lodging, but gym like stuff, and just it's this sort of like, oh, you're a member, then you're welcome here, sort of a.
And what was where did you have drinks? At a bar?
We went into this house that was like 4 stories tall, and we walked up each level, and we looked around, and we saw, okay, so this level is kind of cool, but she was sort of pressuring us to be like, well, at the top is where you really have the best, not view, but
ambiance.
And
that's where the drinks were?
and so we walked all the way up to the top, and we had some cocktails up there, some very spicy
Did it look like
cocktails.
a bar?
What?
Did it look like a bar?
It was a bar, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Like on every level, but some levels were more like for like a disco dancing scene, and others were
Bars at
more
every level.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't mention that. That's a big factor.
And so it was like just crazy that like Jacob had no idea that his friend was a member of this
Right.
club. Apparently, it cost like about $300 a month
Oh my word.
to be a member.
Oh my word.
So I don't know what she's bringing in and living in London and can afford
You'd
this.
have to go there pretty often to.
Yeah,
I mean, if it was a $20 cover charge, you'd have to go every other day.
right.
If you thought, well, I'd pay a $10 cover charge to come and play, well, you'd have to go every other day. Or otherwise, well, I mean, what are you looking at?
Yeah.
It's-
So that
and were the drinks cheap?
So the meal that we had, Jacob insisted on putting it on his corporate card, so I don't know how much that was, and
Yeah.
the drinks his friend insisted on paying for, so I don't really know what those were.
So for you, the price was perfect.
But
So how
just
many drinks you have there?
just two,
And then what?
and then it was like we need to
Time for bed.
we need to go home. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's a blast. Did you see Jake again?
No. Like so I said goodbye to him at like midnight or midnight plus, and he had to like be on a flight at like 5 a.m. or something. So, like,
Oh Lord.
uh,
Well, that's great.
but just the craziness of being so far from home and meeting
Yeah.
up with someone that is
Yeah.
from home is
Yeah.
wild.
Well, I've told you the story about being down in, of all places, Houma, Louisiana, which is a bayou area that is very interesting land area because of the bayous and the marsh. And it happens to be the hometown of Tab Benoit, the guitarist, rock and blues, rhythm and blues
Indeed,
guitarist,
yes.
singer. And he held, he sponsored this Voice of the Wetlands 3-day concert on the cattle grounds outside of Houma. And all the entertainment, 2 stages, the so-called big stage, which there was room for 1,200 in front of that, and there were probably 500 people there. And then a so-called small stage, which was small, that had old barnwood built around it like a 10-foot high fence as a fake wall, because when you were inside of this fenced-in area that looked like barnwood, there was a big stage in the front, and then they used bales of hay to build a bar and bales of hay to sit on. And there would be a band at the big house, the big stage, while they broke down and set up for the next one. There'd be a band at the little stage, so you could go back and forth, or stay at one and have a break in between every band or whatever. But I was Houma, Louisiana, middle of nowhere in Louisiana, but an event. And I was walking backwards from the big stage,
As you do.
listening to the music and backing toward the bar that served nothing but Louisiana craft beer, in some national craft.
And this is when?
It's great. This was several years ago.
Okay.
Several years ago. And as I was walking backwards, I bumped into someone and about
Yeah.
spilt my beer and said, "Oh God, I'm sorry, excuse me."
God damn it!
And I turned,
He said,
and it was a guy who I know from Kalamazoo, a saxophone player, who I played with on occasion and who I was friends with, and it was him. And we looked at each other and said each other's name aloud as if to say, "What?
"Yeah,
What? First you're here, and then we back into each other?" And it
So,
ends up being this-
that's extra special. Like, my coincidence was because I shared a thing, and someone noticed and told him to talk
Right.
to me.
Well,
As I told Jacob, I have this idea for a mobile app where when you're in a place that's like when you're in a concert or something, you should be able to say, "Hey, are any of my friends here?" And what it will do is it will ping any of your friends that are nearby. Like, so it's not, there's no like privacy issue of like you can track where your friends are. You can just say, "Hey, right now ping any friends that are nearby," and all your friends that are nearby will receive a message saying, "Hey, Dennis is close to you. Would you like to let him know where your location is," or whatever. And so they can totally ignore it if they don't want to
Right.
see you or whatever. But if they want to see you, they can be like, "Yeah." And so, because I feel like there are so many times where there are get-togethers or concerts or whatever's where that some of the people here, like you that some of your friends are here, but you haven't communicated with your friends. "Oh, I'm going to this particular event," and I feel like there's room for an app that will do that, but I've never built it.
That's yeah. I mean the idea of being in the same places and having a way that you did to communicate in a general way, and I'm here,
Right.
as opposed to the physical.
I'm here and I'm lonely. Is the subtext?
As opposed to my good fortune, which included a physical
Right.
connection. Now, further evidence of providence is that his wife, who was there, who's an artist and was selling paintings, in fact, had not met my wife, who was with me, currently in the crowd. And when we introduced each other, so there were four of us in her booth where she was selling her paintings and her prints of her paintings, somehow it was discussed where we lived, and they said, "Oh, we were going to buy a house a block from you."
Wow.
But it fell through, and so we bought it at price, no negotiation, signed the papers, and someone came in and offered them $30,000 in additional cash with an all-cash deal, and they took it away from us. And our house was going to go up for sale. We had decided that, but we hadn't done it. So when Katie said that, Nikki said, "Oh, so you like big houses?" And they're like, "We would die for a big house in that neighborhood." And I looked at them and I said, "We've got a place for you." 3 months later, they bought our house. We never put it on the market.
I remember this story. Yes. Nice.
And we worked out a deal of what I would do before they bought it, and that when we sold it to them, we rented it from them for 3 months. And the rent we paid was exactly equivalent to what they had to pay. So they weren't out a penny. In fact, they made, small amount of money.
Nice.
And that allowed them then to stay in their house until it sold, obviously within that 3 months. So I was able to take the profit from the house sale and pour it into the house I bought, which needed to be redone from top to bottom, so that over the course of that 90 days, I spent on average $1,000 a day and got the place ready for us to move in. And 3 months later, we moved in. And then I worked on the outside. But that's how all that started. A butt bump in Houma, Louisiana, at the VOW, Voice of the Wetlands festival.
So after I had my hookup with Jacob, I was supposed to travel back on the Friday. Like, it was a Tuesday through Thursday at the office time, but I realized, well, if I travel back on Sunday, like, I could stay the Friday and Saturday, and I happen to have a friend that has a bed that will let me sleep there in London, which is amazing. So I talked to her, and I was like, "Hey, can I hang out on?" So let's see. So Friday, I checked out of the hotel and I went to drop off my stuff with my friends, and then I came back into London, and I thought, what's some random shit that I haven't ever done in London that I could do? So I went to Abbey Road Studios, and it was just a random Friday, and so there weren't a lot of tourists there, but there is the most famous crosswalk in all of history, and so like, Abbey Road Studios is just like this stupid little house that's there, I took a photo of it, but and the crosswalk is also just like all the other fucking crosswalks in all of London, right?
And so what was the weather like on your day of outing?
It was cold, but not raining.
Like, how cold?
Cold. How cold? Probably 6 degrees. 42.
Yeah. Cool.
And so while I was there, I did a FaceTime call with my father, who was, I don't know if you are up to date with his status, but he was still in the hospital at that time.
Wow. I know. I just wrote him yesterday because I caught up with it on Facebook on the whole story.
So he gave me his rundown of how he was, and I was like, so here I am at this place where, like, magic fucking happened 60 years ago or whatever.
Magic that broke them up, in fact.
Yeah, exactly. but
those stories and those clips of those disagreements and all that crazy stuff that was going on
yeah.
is gut-wrenching.
Yeah, but it's also like superhuman.
It's history.
Like that's the way humans are. Yeah.
It's history. Yeah, I mean it's folklore. So
I did that, and then on the Saturday, I went with my friends that I was staying with to a place called Kew Gardens, Kew, and this is a garden area that has been set aside for like 300 years. Like,
oh Lord,
there's like all this history of like monarchy, people going there or whatever, and now it's a botany research center where they study seeds of plants that are like going extinct in the wild, and they like are trying to reintroduce things. And it was they've got these lovely these lovely greenhouse sort of areas where it's all in these trees enclosed in glass that you can go in, and it was all nice and warm and tropical and whatever. That was kind of cool. And
that's a great way to spend a cold day.
Indeed. And then we had a lovely, super English tea place where, you know, you got your tea and you're just drinking your tea with your little biscuits and whatever. And then, as a request of mine, we went out to a stand-up comedy gig. Because like I don't get into any stand-up comedy, and like I listen to these podcasts where they're like, oh, my next show is at Soho Theatre in London. And so when I was like, I'm going to be in London, let's see what's at the Soho Theatre. And I looked around, and I chose this I want to say woman. They specifically identify as non-binary, which means that the pronouns get weird. But it's this American that lives in Denmark and has a couple of kids and has a Danish husband, and their name is Abby Wambach, which is not to be confused with the American soccer phenom Abby Wambach, which sounds exactly the same.
I must say I don't know either one of them.
Yeah, but I think if you saw the soccer person, you might be like, oh yeah, like okay. She was amazing in the Olympics or whatever. But it was the show. The concept of the show was, what if rather than come up with a particular show, I came up with like the start of 17 different shows. And so it was like very quick, like, oh, here's a thing that could be a total hour show, but nope, we're gonna cut that off, and then we're gonna do another thing. as someone that doesn't ever go to stand-up comedy, I found it very amazing, and but it was in this. It was in such a small venue, like the audience maybe was 60 people.
Did you laugh out loud?
I did, but also like I was primed to laugh out loud because we were in such a small place that like I felt like I needed to give laugh out loud vibes back. So
Like everyone else in the room?
So I don't know if I had been like watching it alone, but that's always true. Like when you watch a thing alone in your
You were in an environment.
Yeah.
You're in an environment that was conducive to outward exhibition of joy,
and so
as opposed to a venue that wasn't. It's like sitting in a room alone watching the Lions the other day, which, by the way, was a cataclysmic loss.
But
putting them out of the Super Bowl on their home turf. The first game they lost at home all year. They're done. But point being, sitting there in a room alone, watching a football game
isn't the same. Yeah,
I might cheer a little bit, but not like if I was in a bar and everyone was cheering. I would join in.
Or at the game. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, the game was insane, but.
So this was such a small venue that like she specifically made the joke very early on that like I actually don't need this microphone, like I can just talk because it was such a small little place.
Right.
And but my friends and I we were the very first to come into the venue, and we got there, and to my surprise, like the stand-up comic was just there waiting to like welcome us in, and I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting to see. I wasn't expecting to run into the talent here, and she said, and she said, hold on, say that again. Call me the talent one more time. And I was like, oh well, you're the talent. But it was such a small cozy venue that like later after the show, like I went up to her and I was like, hey. I know you live in Denmark, in Copenhagen. I have a history in Copenhagen. I just wanted to say hi and stuff. And so, like, I got a selfie with her, or with them.
Well, that sounds like
anyway.
That's one hell of a week. You jammed a lot in those extra couple of days, especially. Those are a good way to take advantage of traveling.
Yeah, exactly. Like when you go to a big city, like you gotta do that stuff. And then, after the show, we went to an amazing like Argentinian steak place that was amazing. But
what kind of steak did you get?
Beef.
Yeah. T-bone, roundhouse,
sirloin.
Beef. Well, could have been swordfish steak. Yeah, who knows?
But anyway, it was fantastic.
Well, I can't say I've done much except been tied to the tube for the wonderful NFL playoffs that I've been watching. My Buffalo Bills team did beat the Baltimore Ravens in a game of all games with, long story short, two of the most amazing quarterbacks in the history of the sport.
Nice.
Playing against each other in cold weather, snowy weather. And pretty much hung tight. The snow and the vehicles and the problems with the roads, and it's just been closed schools and, minus 18-degree wind chill factors.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That cold.
And so, and some interaction with the grandkids because they were off, of course, for closed school days, and doing a little bit of work on the side. I'm trying to get back to Alaska in a way that allows me to do what you did, which is to go up there and work, but also to have 4 and 5 day weekends before or after the trip, or both.
Yep.
Go in early and leave late, leave afterwards. But we'll see. It's a consultant business is a hard row to hoe, to say the least, in these times.
Row to hoe.
Yeah, so we got Mojo Riot's got a new venue, a new gig coming up this coming Friday. We're playing at this little brewery north of here in Otsego, Michigan. You may have heard of Plainwell, Michigan, or Otsego, Michigan. You drove up through there in your travels here, and a little brewery called the Liquid Note that names its beers after famous singer-songwriters and their songs. And the dude who opened it is a drummer who bought a building and put a stage in this empty building, and then built a bar and around the stage. Not around the stage, literally, but built the area, designed the area with the stage in the center, so that the stage was in the best possible place, which is unique for us because we've been playing in a place where the stage is above the people, with these huge pillars that are in the way of the band, and then fencing on two places where you can't see the musicians. So this wide open stage is going to be unique for us. We've never done it. It's the only second place we've ever played. And further, the guy set up a eternally recording video camera on the wall opposite of the stage, so your entire performance is videotaped, which I assume then we can get access to and cut down the in-between shit. Maybe, I don't know, I don't think you can, I don't know how you would edit it.
So
frame by frame, I suppose.
You've not seen any of the news from this week?
Any what?
News? Political?
Real news? National news?
Political.
No, I'm pretty much out of all that public news, man. I'm just bowing out. I've been reading novels. I'm rereading all my Larry McMurtry novels. I'm in my sixth one. And I bought a 3-book volume, or not bought, but went to the library and got a 3-book volume, and so I've completely replaced my.
You don't know about Elon?
No, I don't watch TV, but I do look at my feeds and kind of rush through them. I don't generally read the articles or read the headlines. So my opinion of that stuff is that, I'm going to unsubscribe to some of these so that I have less of those to work with, but I'll just look at them. And I kind of want to just say whatever's going to happen, I know I'm going to hear about it one way or the other. I'm not going to hear about it by watching the news. I'll hear about it through my feeds. But I understand right now that I'm pretty helpless, and as is everyone. And there's this mean-spirited part of me that wants to say to the people that are already, they lost through executive order yesterday, I know this, they lost the discounts on prescriptions, particularly for the elderly, that Trump had put into effect. And so many of those people voted for Trump. And many of those other people didn't vote for Trump, but also didn't vote at all. And so my attitude, which is not particularly benevolent, is you got them, You wanted him. You got him. Good luck. I'll hear tidbits. Kind of let me know how it turns out in 4 years. Here's an interesting thing that I read today, though, that is worth. You and I have talked about the fact that FDR was 3-term president, and that it wasn't until afterwards that the amendment to the Constitution.
Yes.
We haven't talked about it?
Yes, all the time. Yeah.
Well, anyway, the fact is he did 3 terms, and that happened before the amendment to the Constitution limited presidents to 2 terms, so it can't happen now. But this is what could happen, is that Trump could run with someone as their vice president. And once they were elected, the president would resign.
Yep.
He didn't run 3 times. Question would be whether would he be eligible to serve, and it could be that his Supreme Court says, of course he can. That's what the Constitution allows for, and it supersedes an amendment that happened much later, because the presidential succession plan is part of the original Constitution as opposed to amendments. So any reading of that would take higher precedence.
That's adorable that you would think that he would follow the rules. But no, he would just whatever. So on behalf of this particular venture, I would request that you see a little bit of the news so we can talk about how, like, what you just did with your arm there is unacceptable. Because
I don't know, man.
Like,
Stop
stop making the Nazi salute, Dennis. Put your arm down.
I don't know. There's 2 things I want to tell you. One is I'm not sure that'll happen, and the second is I gotta go. I got band practice.
I gotta go too.
I'm out.
All right, love you. See you next week.
Love
Maybe.
you, man. Take care.
All right, that's it for episode number 239. You can find these show notes at happyhour.fm/239 with links to like the Soho House and to that stand-up comic that I saw. And you can help support the show at patreon.com/happyhour. If you support at the Gin Martinis level, you can see video of us doing this call. See you next week.